Step one, you want to show a little bit of leg. In this case, we'll use mine. You want to put it out there?
So clutch.
I want to ask you about the film first and foremost. You hiked the PCT and you made this film about it. When did you do it and why'd you want to do it?
Originally hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2019. My brother and good friend and I had the idea of filming a hike of the Pacific Crest Trail and making it a full-length documentary. And this was in like early 2020, we had the idea. And my plan was to start hiking in 2021. So I went out there in 2021 in July to hike southbound, which is pretty non-traditional. A lot of people go northbound. But with my teaching schedule, I couldn't really get off in March and April. So I had to wait until the school year was over. A few weeks before my trip, I really messed up my knee. And that turned out to be an injury that would take about 6 months to recover from. And so I still went out to the trail, realized I couldn't do it about a week in 2021, had to get off trail and come up with a whole new plan to get back out there. So it was kind of a roller coaster of emotion. It's the whole process. It's the first attempts, the injury, the build up to the hike, and then ultimately the successful hike in 22.
It's something that struck me about watching the trailer and watching some of the clips online is that so many of us know you as Matt Lyons, the funny guy from Instagram.
I don't really know how much time you spend in the mountains, but the weather can change in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, so can my pants.
And the Matt Lyons we see in the video clips is like a very different person, very somber, very serious mood. And I'm really curious how it is for you now viewing it several years later, knowing that like your persona is now so attached to humor and sort of poking fun at the outdoors.
When I was filming the documentary, obviously I was not that big on social media. And so when we finally got to the point 3 or 4 years later where the documentary is edited and we're planning on releasing it, everyone was commenting on the promotional videos being like, is this another comedy video? Like, is this just a joke documentary that you're doing? And so we went on a screening tour to screen the film in a couple spots around New England. And I got up on stage before we started the film. And I had to preface it by saying this isn't a stand-up comedy show. Everyone's watching this documentary, like waiting for the punchline. And then it's just me like getting shin splints on the Pacific Crest Trail in a serious manner. This is kind of a glimpse into my life outside of comedy.
What have people been saying to you in person after viewing the film?
I've had a lot of people come up and be like, this really inspired me to get out and do some backpacking and get out and do an adventure like this. And they came to the shows not knowing what to expect. That's what the goal of it was when we first came up with the idea of it. I really appreciated that. My worst fear was that people would come up and be like, this isn't what I was looking for, I'm gonna leave. And that's not what we got.
What was the toughest moment? What was like the most brutal, painful, either physically or mentally, emotionally moment that comes to mind?
The snow in Washington State was extremely high when I started. And so I changed my whole itinerary. I started at the Oregon-California border and hiked northbound. So I met a lot of northbound hikers on that first month and a half, 2 months on the trail. Grew all these relationships that were incredible. And then we hit the Canadian border, they all went home, and I had to go back to the Oregon-California border to hike 1,600 more miles to Mexico. And the first few days starting southbound on that leg were very eye-opening and made me realize that a lot of the reason I'm out there is for the people that I meet along the way and those connections I've made. And so I got into a super deep, dark rut emotionally in Northern California because you go from this lush North Cascades National Park-esque scenery in Washington to kind of dry, arid, more flat terrain in Northern California. And so it was kind of a stark contrast and really kind of hit me like a freight train emotionally. And that comes out in the documentary. You really see my emotions start to flow there.
I don't find that hard to imagine. You have always struck me as a guy who likes community, likes being around people. You create these personas that are based off of the people that you meet and interact with in the outdoor recreation world.
I like having at least some people there to kind of joke around with. That's something I love about the trail and life in general.
A couple years ago when we linked up for an interview, Matt, you were this budding social media celebrity in the Instagram space. I think you had 250,000 followers. You have 1 million followers now.
I know, I'm very close. Yeah.
Holy cow, what happened? Were there like a few personas or a few sports that you feel like you tapped into that really like juiced the numbers?
One of the coolest things about doing this is I haven't kind of restricted myself to just backpacking, right? I'm doing a video about something I might not necessarily know anything about. So I'm meeting some folks that I wouldn't normally interact with. And that's like the power of social media. That's the beauty of it too, is you meet a lot of people that you wouldn't interact with normally.
Are there any sports that you are regularly laughing at where you are like a self-admitted, just like you just suck at it, you're just terrible at it, you've tried and you're just like failing at it?
I went snowshoeing and I realized how inefficient it can be if you're not very good at it. So I was just like slogging through the snow. I'm still sinking into the snow. I don't know if it's supposed to keep you on top, but it was one of the harder things I've done. I also realized, and you can't tell anyone this, you can, but you can't. I've actually never touched a pair of skis in my life. I've only snowboarded. So I make all these videos about skiing. I'll even tell my friends I'm going skiing this weekend when in reality I'm snowboarding. But I feel like it just rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so that's just how I describe it to people. Never been on a pair of sticks.
The secret is between you and me and all of the people watching this video right now.
Beautiful.
Some of my friends and family don't understand why I'd want to walk for months on end. Obviously, it's much more than that to me.
We just have to climb 5,000 feet out of this valley, and then we'll be in town. Very safe.
How'd you know?
Just came in, like, right in the valley. It is snowing. I'm so happy.
This is what you do when you feel stuck. You throw yourself into something new. Being on trail means to sit with your discomfort.
It's just really lonely knowing 1,600 miles left. I feel like I'm the only one out here.
There's something oddly beautiful about being tested every day. It's exhausting, but you find parts of yourself you didn't even know were there. It's hard to find that push anywhere else.
It's gonna take me years to process the trip. Right now I can say with certainty that this was one of the most difficult things I've ever done.